I'm a nighttime security guard, and I was doing an active check on one of our accounts. So I was checking the whole exterior of the building. There are no cars, no signs of people, other than a single air conditioning unit that had fallen to the ground outside of a window. It was windy, and the piece of wood that was supporting the air conditioning unit looked pretty old, so I figured that it was a natural fall because the wood couldn't support the unit anymore. Just to be extra sure, I did an extra check around the building, making sure to put my flashlight through every single window. Nothing. No signs at all of anyone. So I began to put the AC unit back on its stand, and it made a very loud crackling noise. It was pretty noticeable. So, a few moments later, someone started to walk into the room. I heard the footsteps, and I felt the presence of somebody in the room with me. So, before I could even say anything, this person asked who I was. "Hey, who are you and why are you here?" I assumed it was the business owner of the building. I was wrong. I turned. When they got close enough to me, I could see that they were wearing a full ski mask, like straight out of a movie. They pushed the air conditioning unit forcefully back out and onto my feet and started climbing through the hole directly towards me. So before they could even get close to me, I took off across the street and I ran. I called the cops, and after he saw me on my phone, he ran the opposite way. Law enforcement arrived and closed off the entire street I saw him run onto. They brought men with assault rifles, 4 K9 units, and several cop cars. It turns out that this masked man was actively robbing the facility, and I just happened to stumble into it. Thankfully, the person who was robbing the building hadn't even gotten away with anything, and none of the offices inside even looked like somebody had gone through them. So I must have gotten there within not even a minute of this guy getting there. One thing that still does affect me to this day is imagining what that man had looked like when he was forcefully crawling through the crawl space where the AC unit had fell out, and knowing that he's out there still somewhere and he knows what I look like. When my grandmother had passed away, as opposed to my parents selling her house, they just allowed me to live in it instead. I had to pay the mortgage, so it wasn't too bad, given that it was an older house, and they probably got it for a lot cheaper than it could go for today. So at first I really enjoyed living alone, given that I could have whoever I wanted over whenever I wanted. But quickly, it got lonely being there, in that big house all by myself. So I eventually adopted a new dog. It was a Belgian Malinois. I named her Bella. Bella hardly ever barks. She's a very calm and gentle dog. Bella will only bark if she feels threatened or maybe if she's playing with another dog. So I bought her a doggy bed the day after I adopted her, and I put her next to my bed. I usually let the bedroom door open so she could walk around the house at night as well as get water or go get snacks out of her snack bowl. So the strangest thing happened. 4 days after I adopted Bella, I woke up to her barking. Bella was not in my room. She was barking from the other side of the house. So as I get up out of bed, I struggle to the door. I'm starting to come back to consciousness, and as I walk down the hallway, I'm dizzily walking down the hallway to check to see what she's barking at. So I'm rubbing my eyes viciously to try to regain consciousness and understand what I'm seeing. And as I walk down the hallway, I turn on the light in the hallway, and I quickly notice Bella jumping like a crazy dog up and down at the basement door. I didn't know what to do. She seemed like she was going crazy, and if I tried to stop her, she would bite me. At this point, it was the middle of the night, and I was terrified to go down into the basement, especially since I have this whole house to myself. But it is my house, so I had to man up. I wanted Bella to go down there with me since she's the attack dog of the house. I slightly nudged the door open with my fingers, and Bella shoved her snout in the door. Bella frantically ran down the stairs, and I flipped on the lights for the basement. I slowly walked down the stairs, and Bella disappeared into the far end of the basement. As I was slowly going down the stairs, I noticed very quickly that it got quiet in the basement. Do you ever have the time where you're somewhere and you can literally hear the silence? Yeah, that was one of these times. I found it a bit concerning. I began to look around for Bella, calling her name, and then I saw her standing still. I turned on the second light down in the basement, and I saw that she had her tail between her legs. She was looking up at something on the opposite end of the room, but it was blocked by a wall of storage bins. I make Bella walk with me to the other side of the basement, on the other side of the storage bins, and it looks like there's a closet door on the other side of the basement. As strange as this sounds, I never knew that we had a closet in the basement. I guess it was always covered by this storage bin wall, so I just never noticed. Bella began to growl as I walked towards the door. She was following me, but she was a few feet behind me. As I inched closer to the closet door that was in the basement, I couldn't help but think about how I didn't really know Bella too well, so I couldn't be sure if she would attack whatever it is that's down here, or if she would stand down. I was even surprised that I was able to push myself to go down into the basement, because ever since I was little, I had a big fear of being in basements. The amount of anxiety that I was building up was insane, and I was on the verge of a panic attack. So I just cut my losses, and I made Bella come upstairs with me, and I locked the basement door. I quickly got on the phone with the police, and I told them that I think that somebody's inside of my house. The operator on the other line had told me to get into a safe place and lock myself in with my dog and arm myself for protection. She dispatched officers, and she said she was on the way. As I told her that I was anxious, she said she would stay on the line with me as they approached. But as soon as she finished her sentence, I heard a thud come from outside. Bella started to growl, and I had to grab her and tell her to be quiet because I didn't want to give up our position. Shortly after the thud, I heard a couple more noises, but it sounded like scuffling noises. So I'm going to assume that whoever was in the basement was trying to access the rest of the house, but thankfully I locked the door. I didn't hear any other noises after that, but seconds felt like hours waiting for these police to show up. I was afraid of somebody pulling the door open and grabbing me and Bella and attacking us. But thankfully that didn't happen. 10 minutes passed and the police kicked down the door. They searched the whole entire house and I tell them where I'm at. By the time the cops were done searching, it was conclusive that whoever had robbed my house had gotten away. And unfortunately, we left a pretty good amount of valuable things in our basement. There were signs of forced entry as the basement window was wide open, so it looked like it was pretty easy for whoever this was to get inside the basement. Ever since that day, I've gotten a security system on my house, and I've been training Bella to be a better guard dog. My irrational fear of basements is no longer irrational, and it's been a couple weeks since this happened. I pray that this doesn't ever happen again, as I always think about hearing that noise and imagining what would have been on the other side of that door had I opened it. My family moved across the country to New Mexico. My stepdad had owned a super old ranch there. The property was pretty sizable, and it had a nice pool. The pool was a bit far from the house, so I decided to take my car and my dog before the sun had set. When I got there, I brought a little lamp so I had some sort of light. I don't know if anybody here really knows this, but when you're in the middle of the desert in New Mexico, it gets very dark out at night. So I set the lamp down next to the pool, and my dog sits down next to the lamp, and I jump in the pool. I began to do some laps around the pool, and I decided to pull my head out of the water to get some air. Everything was super dark, and I could tell the sun had set completely. I turned the lamp on, and then I went back to doing my laps. So I kept swimming. The next time my head was out of the water, I saw that my light was on, but It was kind of flickering, as if the batteries were dying. So I decided to go back and do more laps. I stick my head up again, and I realize the flickering continues, but it's more aggressive. So I thought maybe my dog was on the table next to the pool messing with the lamp. But I look over, my dog was following me on the side of the pool that I was at. Suddenly, my dog starts to bark where the lamp was. So I reach up and I clean the water from my eyes, and it appears that I see a toddler on the table next to the lamp playing with the lamp, flickering it on, flickering it off, flickering it on, and flickering it back off. My dog saw this too and ran away from the area. I quickly reacted and I just went underwater trying to analyze what I saw and calm myself down. So I slowly lift my head up out of the pool to take some air, and I pop my head out of the water, and the lamp was right next to me on the edge of the pool. Till this day, I cannot go back to that pool alone at night.